morning, and welcome to another episode of Coffee with a Kick. Coming in like a shock jockey. Are you old enough to know what a shock jockey is? I don't know. Did you ever listen to AM radio when you were growing up? I think you're old enough.
My dad, we're not that far apart.
We're not that far apart. But it's one of those things where no one cares about what I'm saying right now. That is one of those things. But anyways, we've got a lot to cover in this episode. We had listen, I'll be honest, we didn't do great for this weekend. It did not go as intended, okay? You can't blame us because we made the picks that were supposed to be correct and they didn't happen by and large. I salvaged myself with the last couple games. Keegan didn't. Keegan did not, but we will get to that here in just a moment. First, why don't you go ahead and hit that like button, go ahead and subscribe, ring the bell, follow us on X and Facebook if you so choose. Really, the X and YouTube are where it's at, you know what I mean? That's the best place to go. Drop a comment if you are so inclined, saying how wonderful it is to hear our voices in the morning. Oh, it makes me so happy reading comments. They're all very kind. Don't look back at the videos. They're all very kind. They are all very kind. But what do you say? We just hop right into it with the early match on Saturday morning, which was one of our shockers here. One of the shockers. Aston Villa hosting Brighton. I will say you're only off by 1 week for your 6-1 Brighton result. Only off by 1 week. Now, was it Aston Villa beating Brighton 6-1? I didn't have that in the cards. Did I have it 3-1? Yes, I did. But I did not have it 6-1 Brighton.
I think before the season began, I probably would have predicted this scoreline or close to it. Mm-hmm. I was very high on Aston Villa. I was not so high on Brighton. And they were opposite ends of the spectrum coming into this week. Brighton, riding high. Aston Villa, meh. And then Aston Villa just comes out and slaps Brighton.
It's one of those things where Brighton has shown that if you get them early, they kind of fall apart. It was similar to like the West Ham game to a worse extent in this one. But, you go into the game, you're like, okay, let's settle into this game, get going. 30 minutes in, you're down 3-0. Down 3-0. That's not a great place to be in, especially when one of those is an own goal.
Yeah, they pulled one back in the 50th, but then they just couldn't get anything going. It seemed like after that fourth one went in for Aston Villa, they just kind of dominated the rest of the game. So,
yeah, they did not need the help, but they definitely did. Shocking result. I don't think this hangs around with Brighton. Brighton's manager said something about, it's hard to play every 3 days. I believe that was his quote, right, that I read. De Zerbi said it's hard to play every 3 days. Well, I mean, that's what you're trying to get to, the point where you're playing every 3 days because you're doing some European stuff, doing some league stuff, doing some domestic championship stuff. That's what you're trying to get to. So if you're not built for it, that means you're not built to be a good team. So, I thought that was a bit of a cop-out. But, listen. The cop-out, I mean, probably not happening at this point. Well, we'll see. We'll see what the rest of the season holds. But I don't hold this against. Well, I mean, I might hold it against Brighton, but I don't think this will shade them too terribly. Brighton, they've bounced back from defeats before. Now 6-1, not so much, but they have bounced back from defeats before. It was away, so you could write this off, and we'll see what happens. But a very good showing for Villa, puts them up to, what was it, 5th? Yeah, they're up in 5th. They leapfrogged Brighton on goal difference here. Yeah. We got a big old congestion here the top table is quite congested. I mean, we've got 6 teams within 3 points of first. So it's early in the season, but still, that's a lot of action up there. We will go ahead and skip ourselves on down to Bournemouth hosting Arsenal. This one went about how we expected. You thought actually that Bournemouth would draw this. so kind of you. Arsenal took care of business. It was not particularly close at any point. Starting off strong with the Bukayo Saka goal, and then Arsenal just kind of kept on grinding, got themselves got a nice Kai Havertz sighting on the goal line, 53rd minute. Good old Ben White with Odegaard assisting. It was a pretty clear Arsenal victory. No real trouble about it. Definitely looked like a top 4 team.
Yeah, I don't really have much to say. Bournemouth, they let me down. I probably feel worse than their manager, honestly, because I thought they could pull it out. Their manager probably thought, let's just not lose worse than 4-0. I thought they could get a draw, and they came out and looked atrocious.
Yeah.
Definitely a candidate for a bottom 3 team for sure.
They looked almost as bad as those Arsenal aways. Almost. Those are horrible.
Yeah, which one was worse, the kits or the result? Who knows?
I mean, the kits are bad. And all the long sleeves that they're wearing are the same color. Listen, go back, watch our kit review episode. I'm sure we ranked them poorly. I think they have one that's all right, so it kind of bumped them up, but that's a bad one. That away did not look good. Here's another surprise, okay? Going down here. Everton falls to Luton at Goodison Park. Luton showing that they're going to try to stay up.
Yeah, this was Luton scored their only 2 shots on target. Everton, for most of the match, really dominated possession and the shots. Luton just converted their only 2 and hung on. That's really what it was. I didn't think it was a massive, huge display from Luton, but 3 points, that's huge for them.
It was really a first. There's actually quite a few of the matches where all you have to do is watch the first half, and that's it. Yeah. This is one of them. All the action happened in the first half. Actually, the statistics are similar to a game that we'll get to here in a moment that I was happily surprised by. If you know what happened this weekend, then you might be able to guess. But we'll go ahead and move on to Newcastle taking care of business against Burnley. Is Newcastle good now? Are they back to being similar to who they were last season? I can't tell. They clearly dominated this game. Clearly, they had the vast majority of the chances, the quality chances. The possession was split relatively equally between the two sides, but Burnley didn't have, once again, they're just missing that last third of having any sort of quality in it. And it's pulling them down. They'll have the Tuesday match coming up for later today. Will be telling, I think. Burnley at Luton. But what did you think about this one?
Yeah, I thought Newcastle, it's always hard to win 8-0 and then try and, you always want to go out and do the same thing again. But, I think they did a good job. Burnley always wants to have possession. They press pretty well. And Newcastle, they did the job. 2-0. I think it could have been more than that, honestly. But
20 shots.
They're looking good going into the Champions League.
Yeah, they will have their work cut out in Champions League with PSG. But we'll get to that in a second. Moving on down to one that we did think was pretty reasonable here. West Ham beating Sheffield United 2-0. We both had this being a larger victory than it ended up being. But we got it right in the end. It was, once again, only had to watch the first half on this one. Both goals happened in the first half. The possession was much more even than I would have anticipated. But the stats are actually, wait, hold on a minute. Let me go back to if you look at the stats between
it's pretty close.
This match and the Burnley match, Newcastle Burnley, it's uncanny. It's almost identical, actually. That's odd, but maybe it just points to, the fact that the two teams, these are two top of the table teams versus two relegation battle teams, but West Ham took care of business, took care of Sheffield, dispatched them easily. It wasn't a particularly close game.
Yeah, no, I definitely thought Yeah. Yeah, like you said, first half, well, that's all you got to watch.
That's all you want to watch, really. And now...
Not there are any good highlights to watch.
And now we get over to another... the most shocking result of the weekend, I would say. Right? I mean, Wolves winning 2-1 over Man City, I think that's probably the most shocking result of the weekend. I think that's pretty safe to say. And I must say, my Wolves, like they played up to the competition in this one. The Wolves looked very good. What I took away from this was that you were missing Rodri, one. And I felt like this was the first game where you really looked like there was a deficit with Kevin De Bruyne being injured still. I feel like that calming presence there in the midfield, you were just lacking it, and Phil wasn't filling in for some reason as well as he has in the other matches that you've played so far this season without Kevin De Bruyne. But, I mean, you got to give it to my Wolves. We came to play.
Yeah, this one, Man City could not get that final pass in.
No.
No matter what it was either, who is it, Craig Dawson getting in the way of several crosses.
28 clearances by my Wolves.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few where he got in the way, where if he had not been there, it would have been a tap-in. But I was frustrated most of the match. The only goal we got was the Alvarez free kick.
Which was pretty. I mean, to be honest. It was very nice.
Yeah, great goal. But, like, that was really the only quality chance we had. I mean, Wolves played. They're in the right place at the right time. Yeah. I will say, I did not like how the announcer said that was the biggest win in recent Premier League history. I don't agree with that. I maybe I get where she's coming from, but she was like, "This is the biggest win in recent Premier League history." I don't know about that
biggest win. I mean, it was like maybe it saves us from relegation, but just like biggest upset in recent league history. Is that what she meant?
I don't know, but I didn't agree with it. That's all I know.
The fact that my Wolves, like, City drew level, which, you know, you expected them to, and then my Wolves continued to press, and really Neto was giving Ake fits on that side. He was just faster than him, and it was a great release valve for my Wolves going through the whole match. I mean, nothing much came of it for the most part, except for that own goal there at the beginning, which was rather unlucky for Ruben Diaz there. But then Hwang Hee-chan put us back in front. That's what was so impressive, that my Wolves stayed in it, got back in front, and then ended up taking the whole thing. Listen, fantastic. Glad it happened. Did we both get it wrong? Yes. To review, I got Aston Villa and the Arsenal match. Correct. And West Ham and Sheffield. You, so far, as we've gone through this, you got Crystal Palace. Oh, we haven't done that match yet. I think that one's up next, right?
But I got it right.
Oh, no, we already did that one. Wait. Did I skip Man U and Crystal Palace? I think I did.
You hadn't gotten to it yet.
I accidentally skipped over to my list. Yes, this is the one that you got right. Crystal Palace beating Man United at Old Trafford.
Yeah, this one, I mean, this is the type of game that I'm saying that, like, Ten Hag is on the hot seat now. You can't lose to Crystal Palace at home with the talent they have. Mm-hmm. He's got, like, 5 guys that he's already outcast from training.
4 shots on goal the whole match, and you had 77% possession. What are you doing?
Yeah, Crystal Palace, I think they're good, but they're a very counterattack sort of attacking team when they're playing the bigger teams. It didn't feel like that kind of game. It felt like Crystal Palace had a leg up. They honestly, to me, looked like the better team in this match.
And it's not going to get any easier for Man U going into the Champions League in the midweek. Well, okay, I changed my mind on that. It'll be a little bit easier. It's Galatasaray. I
don't count out those Turkish giants. Come on.
We'll see what happens. Anyway, yeah, sorry, I missed over that one. To the late match, Spurs and Liverpool. Spurs almost messed this up, man. I cannot believe it. I cannot believe that they almost messed it up. I got this one exactly right. This is one of my perfect picks, 2-1. You thought it was a 2-2 draw. 2 red cards for Liverpool.
Should have been.
I mean, it was very close to being that.
Well, I mean,
very close to 1-1.
Premier League came out. They said Diaz's goal should have stood.
Oh, the offsides that they called?
Yeah, they said
I was going to say, watching that back, it looked a little bit offsides to me.
Here's some. So Pigmol came out, and they said the VAR official who was checking it thought they had ruled it a goal. And so when he said check confirmed, he thought that they had ruled it a goal. So then on the field, he said confirmed offside. So major miscommunication.
Wow.
Liverpool 3 points off.
I had not heard that.
Yeah.
That's nuts. Because he's looking at it, he's like, yeah, he's onside, obviously. Why am I checking this? And I was like, no, you're checking to see if he was offsides. Ugh.
Yeah, big miscommunication. I will say, though, Joel Matip, he's got a shin, man. That thing rocketed into that corner.
It was a very good goal. It was a very good goal. Yeah, but 2 reds. I mean, the fact Spurs are good. Like, I don't know why they couldn't. Did Liverpool drop literally everybody, essentially? Yes, they did. But I still feel like they should have done better at having any chances. Like, they weren't even getting chances. They were really just dawdling outside of the 18 and not doing anything aggressive even. And that it took an own goal in the 90+6 doesn't speak well to them. 3 points is 3 points, even when you're not supposed to get them and didn't deserve them. But listen, it was a strange one to be sure, that 2-1 victory of Tottenham over Liverpool. Now, moving on to another pick that I got exactly correct. Nottingham Forest and Brentford drawing 1-1. This one, you only watch the second half, okay? On this one, you only watch the second half on this one. A very early second yellow in the 56th minute. Off the free kick resulting, Brentford gets a goal. So you're like, okay, Brentford can now kind of coast towards the end of the match, get some 3 points against a decent Nottingham Forest side, and go home happy. No. 65th minute, Nottingham Forest come back, draw level, and then they park the bus and make sure they get their 1 point that they've earned back. Another gutsy performance from Nottingham Forest. This was, if you feel like there's been a lot of red showing in the season thus far, it's because there has been 17th red card this season. At this point, last season, there were only 5.
Wow.
So I don't know if it's the new emphasis on dissent yellow cards that's causing the issue, or if they're just trying to call it a little bit different. There's also been a lot of questionable reds. So
I'll tell you what it is.
Oh, got the inside.
It's the old COVID vaccine.
Oh, what? I don't even. It's the AstraZeneca version because that's like all they have in Britain or whatever.
Well, no. I know. Yeah, a lot of them have been double yellows though.
Yeah, a lot of.
I think over half have been double yellows. So they did come into the season saying that the refs were going to be a little bit more yellow friendly because a couple of games last year got out of hand.
Yeah,
because they weren't yellow friendly. So. Yeah. Anyways, it's probably the COVID vaccine. We all know it.
Sure, I'm sure it is. This is also the 7th and 8th points that Brentford have dropped after leading this season.
Wow.
Tied with Bournemouth in that regard. So if you feel like Brentford should have more points, you're probably right. They should be doing better than they are currently.
Nottingham, they disappointed me in this one.
Who, Bournemouth?
Because they didn't play well. They should have lost.
Nottingham.
Well.
Yeah.
But Brentford, they played well. They should have gotten 3 points. Unlucky.
They should have. They were up for most of the second half, but they couldn't convert. And that brings us to our Monday match of Fulham and Chelsea. Chelsea will be happy for the 3 points, I'm sure. However, I don't know if it was the most confidence-inspiring victory over Fulham that they could have had.
Yeah, besides their 2 little goals there in the 18th and 19th minute, I personally thought Fulham was the better side for much of the match.
And really that second goal was just Tim Ream losing his mind for a couple seconds was the only reason they got that. They didn't have many other chances other than those first 2. I mean, Their slate coming up is ridiculously tough. Their next 4 of the next 6 are against, I think it was Arsenal, City, I think it was Newcastle, and who's the other one? I think it was Liverpool. Let's see who they got coming up here.
Wow.
Yeah, it's tough sledding over the next 6 weeks.
They can do it.
Well, I mean, they'll play the games, that's for sure. Will they be any good at them? We will have to see later on. Here we are, finally. I've navigated to the proper spot. Yes, Brentford. We've got, next one is Burnley, which should be fine for them. Then we've got an international break, and they come back from the international break to host Arsenal. Then they've got Brentford, which is not a pushover. They're away to Spurs, and then they host City, and then they're at Newcastle, and then they host Brighton. So, I mean, and then they play Man U, which, that may be more of a fight for respect at that point. We'll see. That's a full 2 months away, essentially. Over 2 months away, December 6th. But, I mean, the next 2 months are tough for Chelsea. It does not get easier after this Burnley match coming up this upcoming weekend.
Yeah, it doesn't get easier, but they did get 3 points in a game that for this season, they got 3 points in the game that they needed it. So
really needed it in this one. So that brings the grand total of our picks for this week to an abysmal, I will say, well, actually, I finished 5-5. That's not too abysmal, with 2 perfect picks. Yours, however, you were 2-8 this weekend. So, it was a wild weekend. I got to tell you, I don't blame you for getting 8 wrong, but I will hold it against you.
It's a setback, but it's not. I'll come back from it.
Yeah, hey, it's still early in the season. We've got time to right the ship. You're basically in the Chelsea position, only you lost this week instead of winning this week. But that is the end of this weekend. What were your big takeaways from this weekend, other than it being somewhat unpredictable?
Yeah, it was maybe unpredictable for myself. Some games probably could have been predicted better, like Arsenal and Burnley. But takeaway is that there's not really a clear-cut favorite team right now.
Yeah.
I think there's probably 4 or 5 teams. City has shown that they're really good, but I don't think that they are.
They're not playing their best. That's for sure. Yeah.
So, and Luton won, so maybe that 19th spot's up for grabs. Sheffield, you're stuck at 20, but Luton, I don't know. They could do it. Who knows?
Well, we'll go over this in a little bit more detail coming up here. We'll have the basically quarter of the season coming up here in week 10 in a couple match days. And we'll do a little bit more of a fulsome breakdown. But yeah, no one's really separating themselves. I mean, look at the table; it's very congested up at the top, and it could go a lot of ways. I mean, we're still in the season. We still got Kevin De Bruyne to come back for City. We've got some other major injuries, even for Chelsea. They've got some major injuries right now that are not helping their cause at all.
Yeah,
but. I think that is all for the week that was in the Champions League. Now that's what we're about to get to in the Premier League, and now we'll move on to our predictions for this week. We've got one Tuesday match, Luton and Burnley. What do you got for this one, Keegan? Which one of these bottom feeders do you think is gonna? Do you think anybody's taking 3 points out of this? Maybe that's the question.
I think I have a Burnley 2-1 win.
Literally the exact same thing. 2-1 win for Burnley. They need it. They've played pretty well in some of the recent matches.
Yeah.
I mean,
they need it. And I feel like Luton beating Everton was big. Mm-hmm. But I think that was more due to Everton's poor. I mean, I don't think Luton's going to go 100% on shots on target again. If they do, awesome. But Burnley really likes possession. I think they're going to get like 70% possession in this game. And I think they win 2-1.
And if you're ever going to figure out how to score a goal, it's probably against Luton. So listen, Oh, I cannot believe I'm doing this again. How can I never remember this man's name? I know who he is.
Vincent Kompany.
Vincent Kompany. He's got to figure it out. My goodness. You think after like every single time that I forget his name, I would remember it? But no. The answer is no. All I can ever think of, you know who I'm going to say, all I can ever think of is Yaya Toure, and I don't know why. It's Vincent Kompany. He better figure it out against Luton Town. That's all I'm saying. I've got money riding on this.
Oh.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. I did put a little bit on my 0-0 draw for Chelsea, but we all know how that ended.
Ooh.
But yeah, so both have 2-1 victories for Burnley on Tuesday. Now let's move over to a match that I'll actually end up watching, which would be our Champions League fixtures for this Tuesday, for later today. Let's see. Where do I want to start with this? We're just going to go through it A through H. Eventually we'll go through H. But A, we've got Manchester United hosting Galatasaray and Copenhagen hosting Bayern München. I think that these... we'll see what the Galatasaray one ends up being. I think that Copenhagen doesn't have a chance against Bayern. I've got them winning... I have Bayern winning 4-0. I think that that's going to be a pretty straightforward victory for them. The Galatasaray Man U one could be interesting, mainly because Man U is not very good right now. I've got it still them pulling it out 2-1 over Galatasaray. But I feel like it's a late winner that kind of basically saves Ten Hag's job, essentially is what it means.
Yeah, I'm going to have to disagree with you there. I think Galatasaray takes it 2-1 with a Galatasaray late winner.
So
and I mean, if United's owners actually cared about their team, I think they'd fire him quicker than they have. Mm-hmm. But I think his job is safe for now. But 2-1 Galatasaray. Bayern Munich, I'm going to go 6-0.
Wow.
And I feel like that's conservative because I don't think Copenhagen stands a chance. Beautiful city, beautiful people.
Sure.
But not going to be a beautiful game for them.
No. And, Bayern will pour it on. They like to score their goals there in Bayern.
They do not stop scoring.
They will just keep it rolling. On to Group B. Good old Linz versus Arsenal. The classic matchup. And then, lost my place. There we are. PSV and Sevilla. That one's interesting. I've got PSV going 3-2 victory, the home side holding court, because I've got them two finishing 2-3, I believe, with PSV going through. Is that right? Let me hold it. Checking my spot. Yes. Oh, actually, I have Sevilla going out with 4 points in fourth. Regardless, I still think it'll be 3-2 to PSV. And then Arsenal, similar scoreline to the weekend action, 0-3. Arsenal victory away at Linz.
Yeah, I'm going to go 5-0 Arsenal over Linz. I'm not convinced about Linz.
Fair.
They feel like one of those teams that got really hot at the end of last year, so they barely squeaked into the Champions League. They don't look too good this year. PSV Sevilla... After PSV got slapped 2 weeks ago, I'm hesitant to give them the win. Mm-hmm. I think 2-2 draw in this one. I think they're still trying to get going, but I'm going 2-2 draw.
Quite possible. And then for our split groups with early matches, we've got Union Berlin hosting. Oh boy, that is a lot of scribbles.
Braga.
It is Braga. It looks like, yeah, that's why it says like Brazil, because it's Braga. I'm not actually sure what their 3-letter abbreviation is, so I've just got BRA. I've got Union really looked good in the last match. They were unlucky, I think, to not get any points, right? I think they ended up losing entirely. Yes, a very late winner from Real Madrid, if I recall correctly. But I've got them beating Braga 1-0 in this one. I think that they get some points. I also need them to get some points because I picked them to go through into the next round. So I've kind of worked myself into a corner here. And then for the other Group C match, it is Napoli hosting Real Madrid, which I've got. Let's see. I've got Real Madrid taking that one handily 1-4.
I think Napoli takes it 2-1.
Really?
I think the reverse fixture Real Madrid might take, but I think this one Napoli pulls a shock.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Union Berlin versus Braga. I think I'm going to go 2-2 draw. I don't know what to think about these teams. So whenever I don't know, I just go 2-2 draw.
Well, I just recall that from the Union Berlin match, that their away fans were rowdy and rambunctious. So I'm just imagining that home atmosphere gives them a little bit of edge. That's what I'm going with for the Union Berlin victory. And then for the Group D matches, the other early one is RB Salzburg versus Real Sociedad. I don't know why they're like that. Real Sociedad. They're
a lot of city. I get it.
Listen, Real Sociedad's going to take it 2-1 is what I have.
I don't know. I think RB Salzburg will take this one. I have them winning 2-1.
Okay, fine. Do another reverse for me. And then Inter and Benfica, what could be a pretty intriguing match. I have finishing at a 2-2 draw.
Yeah, this one, I think I'm going to go 1-0 Inter.
Yeah, that's a very Inter line right there. 1-0 Inter. It's very much in their wheelhouse.
Yeah, I think they get a goal early, and then they kind of – I think Benfica is good enough to get some possession, play the game, but I'm going early Inter goal. They win 1-0.
But Inter can smother a match. They can just take all the life right out of it. And then on to the Wednesday action, to the bottom table people. We'll start in Group E, who does have one of the early matches. Atletico Madrid versus Feyenoord. And Celtic versus Lazio. I'll let you go first for the other half of the table. So go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not convinced of Atletico's attack, but I don't think Feyenoord's good enough to be able to counter it. I'm going 2-0, Atletico win. Atletico's always been a defensive stalwart, but their offense always shaky. Celtic Lazio, I want Celtic to be good, but they're just not. So I'm going Lazio 3-0.
Wow.
I don't think it's even that close.
Listen, there's like a middle ground between I want Celtic to be good and they're terrible. Is that a true statement, what I just said? Yes, of course it is.
Comparatively, absolutely.
Comparatively, absolutely. For the Scottish League, that's not so true. I actually have Celtic winning this because, once again, I'm trying to stick to my picks where I have Celtic going through. We both have Celtic going through, but you're being more realistic with your picks, I think, than I am. I have Celtic winning.
I have to be realistic.
I have Celtic winning 1-0, and then I actually also have a 2-0 victory for Atletico Madrid as well over Feyenoord. Feyenoord did not impress in that first match. I have not watched a lot of them before or since, so maybe I'll be wrong. I will likely be watching that match over the Antwerp-Shakhtar Donetsk match that'd be happening simultaneously. So we'll see if Feyenoord shows me that they have some quality. Moving down to the Group F matches, the Group of Death. Dortmund hosts AC Milan, and Newcastle hosts PSG, as we mentioned earlier. What you got here?
I think Newcastle goes in, and it's a 1-1 draw.
Really? That'd be a good result for them.
They can hold them. Now, Dortmund AC, that one was a little harder. I have AC winning 2-1. I just think Dortmund's youth is going to get them here.
Mm-hmm.
I think when it comes to the Champions League, they don't have that experience. They're just not going to get it done. So I have AC 2-1.
I had this one initially, Dortmund and AC Milan, as a 1-3 victory for AC Milan. But then I just think about that great stadium they have there in Dortmund. It's so cavernous with the bright yellow and the yelling drunk Germans. It's Oktoberfest, maybe. It is October, so sure, it's Oktoberfest. I bumped it up. I bumped it up to a 3-3 draw against AC Milan. And then I actually have PSG taking the full points at Newcastle, 2-1 for PSG. I just think they got too much quality. Newcastle, though, I'm starting to trust them again, and I know it's wrong. I don't know why everything's going to a southern accent in this episode, but, I'm just going to go with it. I'm ready to have my heart broken again, Newcastle. Although I'm picking you to lose. So you better not break my heart by winning this thing. And then Group G with RB Leipzig hosting Manchester City. It's not southern anymore. And then Svernesvedja host Young Boys. The match everyone will be tuning in for. Svernesvedja, the Red Stars versus Young Boys.
I mean, that'll probably be the best match of the Wednesday action, honestly. If we're gonna be honest when it comes to level of play versus level of play. I have the Young Boys winning this one in a shocker.
Oh boy.
I'm gonna go 4-3.
Whoa.
Young Boys put the heat on them. They go up early. Red Stars try and come back, but time runs out. Now, Man City, RB Leipzig. I have to go Man City. It's hard to go against the team. I'm also going to go 4-1.
4-1.
I think we put the weekend in the past, and Erling Haaland decides, I'm actually going to touch the ball this game. I'm going to actually put it in a net.
No.
And, yeah, I think he does it.
Do you think that City overlooked Wolves? Do you think they did that? Do you think they looked past them to the midweek and say, we need to get some points in the Champions League? I don't know if they would do that for anybody. I think they just go into each match saying, yeah, we're the better team. We should win.
I don't know if they overlooked them, but they underestimated them.
I mean, we played well above what we'd shown so far this season, so it's not on them, really. But we'll not get back into that match. I have a 2-2 draw between Svernesvedja and Young Boys. Mainly because I have no idea how that match is going to shake out. So I was like, you know what? I'll throw a 2-2 on it. And then I've got RB Leipzig losing 2-3 with I feel like it'll RBL will go up 2-1 in the early second half, and City bounce back, get like a 70th minute and then like an 80th first minute or so sort of goal, just kind of working their way back into the game the way that City does with possession and just kind of lulling you into a sense of they lull you, they hypnotize you with all their passes.
Oh, yeah.
And then Erling Haaland's behind you somehow and the ball's at his feet. And then boom, that's how it used to work. We'll see if it can come back, if the magic can return. And then for the final two matches, well, not in time, but on my list. For Group H, like I said, Antwerp hosting Shakhtar Donetsk. And then FC Porto hosting Barcelona.
Yeah, before probably 3 weeks ago, I probably would have put Porto drawing this match. Mm-hmm. After seeing Barcelona really kick it into gear the last couple of weeks, I'm going 3-0 Barcelona.
Wow.
I think they go into Portugal. They show Portugal why Spain is the better country. They show Portugal
just
why.
In total, just the better country, period.
Literally, they're going in their better country.
More people speak our language than speak your silly Portuguese language.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. I call Portuguese a silly language.
Silly language.
So you in Brazil. That's it.
But, I think Barcelona goes in and their Polish striker, Robert Lewandowski, gets a hat trick.
The old man.
Now, Antwerp and Shakhtar Donetsk, I love my Ukrainian wonders, my Shakhtar Donetsk. I got to go a 5-1 drubbing.
Wow.
I think Antwerp is going to be their name. They're going to be twerps. They're going to get stepped on.
And the 90s insults? No.
But Shakhtar Donetsk is not going to Shakhtar anyone. They're going to win 5-1. They're going to put a statement on the group saying we're going to win it.
You do have them winning it, so that would be their first step towards it.
I'm going to call their coach myself and give the pep talk.
Going to give the pep talk to Shakhtar Donetsk. Well, they do have their dear leader back there in Ukraine, so maybe they'll have a better chance. Well, I know they're not in Ukraine, but they've got him back for emotional support.
Zelensky is everywhere.
Zelensky is. Zelensky is. I also have Shakhtar Donetsk winning because I think Antwerp's not good. I feel like it's a fair reason. And then I actually did continue with that draw of FC Porto in Barcelona. Oh, I actually said it that way this time. Barcelona. 1-1. Real dull match. I feel like Porto just kind of sits on the ball a lot in this one. But yeah, that brings us to the end of all those matches. How many is it? I don't want to count them up anymore. I think it's
16. Maybe.
Yep. Because there's 16 because then it's around a 16 because it's half. Boom, did it. Awesome. Good. Got it. Great. All right. And then we will go back over these on Friday with predictions for the next weekend. Any loose ends before we go?
I think the only loose end is going to be RB Leipzig's when Man City goes in there and destroys them.
Oh, that seems suggestive in some way, and I'm not sure why. Well, in honor of hold on, how should I do this? I'll say in honor of Shakhtar Donetsk, we will have a Ukrainian goodbye today. It's literally, I have no idea if I'm going to say this right, but why don't you go ahead and grab your coffee, watch some soccer,